Has anyone here heard of an enlarged uterus? I feel like I'm being brushed off. Over a year ago I had my OB doctor check me due to some issues I was having. She said during exam that the uterus did in fact feel lower and larger from what she felt. And she wanted a scan of it. Otherwise PAP was normal. I had a transvaginal ultrasound that revealed I had a few cysts on both ovaries and my uterus was measuring larger than normal. She said not to worry about it, and to go on. Well, now, I've been having periods all jacked up, spotting randomly, cramping outside of period, etc. When I called and asked more questions about that scan, the nurse told me if it was something to worry about then the OB would have done more. But she didn't see the need to. So now I feel defeated, but I'm worried obviously. I'm not saying you have cancer. But as someone with a close family member who is dying of ovarian cancer because her symptoms were dismissed, please get a second opinion. Your concern is valid. Your symptoms have changed. And you deserve adequate medical attention. So, I don't mean to dismiss that you've been dismissed. But you've developed symptoms since the scan and are calling back about the scan. The actual issue is that you're experiencing symptoms that you haven't had previously. So maybe lead with that. Because a scan of last year is not relevant for current symptoms. I got diagnosed with adenomyosis and endo after 25 years of hell. Adeno can cause an enlarged uterus, but the only real way to fix it is a hysterectomy. Fuck that line of thinking. See another doctor. Push for a biopsy. Ovarian cancer and uterine cancer are not taken nearly as seriously as they should be. And with the symptoms you're having, it's worth getting a second opinion and pushing for testing. You know your body. You're the one that lives there. You know when something isn't right even if you do not know what's wrong. You may have uterine fibroids. The symptoms you're describing are very common, especially if they are large or you have many of them. Definitely push for another opinion. You may need an MRI to fully confirm what's going on. I just recently got a hysterectomy and was diagnosed with pelvic congestion syndrome and adenomyosis after. My ultrasound leading up to it showed an enlarged uterus. Get a new gynecologist, preferably a woman. My friend had a hysterectomy for her uterus being filled with fibroids. It was like the largest uterus they'd ever taken out of someone. That was my immediate thought: fibroids. Go in again and ask about it again. If they brush you off, ask them to put it on your chart that they're refusing care to you. See another doctor. By the time of my hysterectomy, my uterus was twice the size of a normal uterus and had basically been ravaged by endometriosis and adenomyosis, which is where endometriosis infiltrates the muscle wall of the uterus. Document your symptoms. And keep an eye out for less obvious ones like fatigue and brain fog. My endometriosis also severely exacerbated my insulin resistance. So check if you have any negative reactions to carbs or excessive thirst. If any of this sounds familiar or you're just curious, check out our endometriosis for additional detail as well as a list of recommended OBGYNs. My uterus is almost 3 times its size due to adenomyosis. It's been hell. It took 6 years to get diagnosed. A lot of doctors aren't educated about it. They know more about fibroids. Endo. Please go find someone who understands women's health issues. Specifically adeno, endo and fibroids. Edited to add: my mom had uterine cancer but no enlarged uterus. Enlarged uterus doesn't always mean cancer, but also it's good to get checked so you know what's going on in your body. I just went through something similar. My periods were every 2 weeks and lasting up to 2 weeks. Thankfully my doctor listened to me, got an ultrasound, and turned out I had fibroids and a larger than average uterus. Since my uterus was bigger, she switched out my UID to the Mirena as the first step to see if that helps my period. I had a grapefruit-size fibroid sitting on top of my uterus, and as a result my uterus was about 4x its normal size. I just had both removed a few months ago. Definitely take this into your hands and consider your options. I saw Q-Gyno for the first time in 2013 and they notes my uterus was bulky but didn't follow up. In 2018, an ultrasound revealed that I had largish fibroids on and in my uterus. This March I had surgery to remove them. Because they grew in size and number surprisingly rapidly, 3 were seen in 2018. 8 were removed during surgery and were warping the shape of my uterus. The dimensions of my uterus were measured as surgery prep. When I got an IUD placed this July, the doctor reviewed those measurements and noted that my uterus had decrease in size post-surgery. All this to say, I would push for follow-up on this. You could have some fibroids developing. Definitely go back or find another GYN you should probably have an updated ultrasound for comparison and some tissue sampling done. It's not always cancer. Hopefully they checked you for cancer though. I have this, but it's because of my adenomyosis and endometriosis. Do you have lots of clotting with your period? Heavy periods? Or extended periods, i.e. periods more than 5 days? Also, are you at the age of menopause or premenopause? Sounds like fibroids. I have them and was also told I have an enlarged uterus. It's unsettling, but I'm otherwise fine. Sounds like the same symptoms you have, worth getting checked out again. My wife recently had a hysterectomy. She was suffering with fibroids and had developed cysts. It 8 times larger than a normal one when it was removed. She had symptoms similar to yours for years. Not saying you have the same issue, but you should definitely see a different OB. I used to get ovarian cysts and fibroids all the time. I take birth control for it and don't have any more issues. But ovarian cysts hurt so badly. Who knew? You certainly don't want them to rupture, and fibroids, if they become overgrown, can be an issue. So yes, while they both can resolve on their own, if they become chronic issues you will likely need treatment for them. And I don't know much about enlarged uterus, but from what I'm reading here it sounds like there could be an underlying cause for this and worth being more vocal about to make sure. Has the diagnosis of adenomyosis been mentioned? Time crunch and can't read the whole thread right now. An enlarged uterus is common enough with fibroids. Most fibroids are benign and don't cause any problems, hence why docs are mostly dismissive of them. However, sometimes it can contribute to irregular bleeding, irregular cramping, and painful periods. Of all the other great ideas here, just wanted to throw that into the pot. I did it was due to adenomyosis. Adenomyosis. Get another opinion. Shit. Get 2. Even if your previous drive is correct, you'd still have peace of mind. I've never heard of an enlarged uterus. But I'm not a health professional or particularly knowledgeable. But I've heard countless stories of women and men and non-binary folk being dismissed by DRs. Advocate for yourself. No one else will. Get a different doctor. I called earlier and the nurse told me on my report the dimensions were 8.9 by 5.2 by 4.3. As far as those numbers go in terms, I have no idea. Maybe someone here knows more than I do about that. It could be adenomyosis. They can't see it on an ultrasound. Do you have painful periods? Or heavy periods? Classic symptoms of adenomyosis. But can also be something far more serious, like cancer. See a different OB/GYN immediately. Time to go see a different doctor for a second opinion. Good luck to you.